I know Imamov and Khamzat kind of don't want to fight each other. I'm not really excited for that fight. Not a lot of people are, but the Strickland fight, I believe I faced Strickland. In the striking, he definitely beats Khamzat for sure. Khamzat, a problem to deal with when he has you on your back. We've seen that many times. With Strickland, what he does brilliantly, I took Strickland down, I think 7 times. The way he gets up to holding him down is incredibly hard. At Extreme Couture, where they train, they specialize in that cage wrestling and getting back to his feet. And Strickland's a lot stronger than people might think. I think he has a very good chance in that fight.
Do you think we'll need extra security for Chimaev versus Strickland? Absolutely. I got to be honest. I don't know if I trust those two enough to put them together before the fight, because I think they might start fighting. They seem to hate each other and despise each other. And those things are what fights are built on. Those are the things that fights are built on, is bad blood, heat, a true dislike for someone. Sean don't necessarily like anybody, which makes him as fun as anyone to watch. But Khamzat just wants to smash people. Smash. Beat them up, take them down, overwhelm them to the point that they can't do anything.
The main event is the fight that people have been waiting for a long time. Strickland looked incredible in his last performance, and, how much security do you think we're going to need from Chimaev?
Quite a lot, Danny. You need to hire some extra people because Sean Strickland, as we know, the man's a maniac.
Sean Strickland throws a lot of shots at Khamzat, as does Khamzat. I would imagine Khamzat a lot more motivated going into this fight, considering the things that Sean has said about him and their history. And Dana White joked about the fact that they might need a little more security, and I don't think that's the worst idea in the world. I'm not upset that Sean is getting this shot. He does have a win over Imavov, and it was a short notice win for him, and he was moving up to 205. Did that come into play? I don't know. Ultimately, if we're being 100% honest, I think what came into play is that this is a bigger fight, and it sells more, and a hell of a lot more people.
I thought Chimaev lost that fight.
What?
He won the first round. Look at the tape. He won the first round, lost the second and third, didn't get more takedowns. Got stuffed up and got punched in the face more. So I definitely thought Usman won. That's a 170-pounder that's coming off the couch. Literally. He's not training, he's not living that life. Now I know he went up to 185 and did some big things, but I don't think he beats Strickland. I don't think so.
What? That is a wild take.
I'll bet.
Yo, that's a wild take.
I'm dumping the house on Strickland on that one.
That's a wild take.
I'm gonna put
really?
like 100 bands, and I don't even think Chimaev fights him because they've trained a lot.
This is a wild take.
You'll see my I'm fucking prize picks. I put up 100 bands of my own money. I'm gonna go, what? That's how confident I am. Strickland beats him.
Dude, that would be huge for his legacy if he beats a guy like Khamzat.
Very deserving, but I guess they are taking into consideration the fact that Sean Strickland has a win over Nasty Namavov. A lot of people were trashing Sean Strickland about his fighting ability before the Anthony Hernandez fight, including Nasty Namavov as well. He was trashing Strickland, saying this guy's complete trash, this guy's garbage. And I even put a tweet out saying, this guy beat you on a week's notice. Strickland has some solid wins, and they're definitely coming into play here. Plus, the fact that these two are probably going to have one of the best pre-fight press conferences in recent UFC history is also definitely coming into play here. I would not be surprised if Paramount has a pair of scissors on the cord to Sean Strickland's microphone at this press conference, because I know for a fact he is going to go absolutely crazy at Khamzat Chimaev. He's been saying so much about him. Terrorist this, terrorist that. He's sure, the press conference may be better than the fight.
When the relentless pressure and unbreakable toughness of Sean Strickland are combined with the terrifying grappling ability of the undefeated Khamzat Chimaev, the entire MMA world is left wondering one thing: who wins this fight? Well, now fighters and analysts alike are predicting just how this explosive matchup could go down.
No, I think this is what I have to say is that Strickland is, I've always said this, Strickland is extremely tricky to hit because everyone gets into the sport, is fighting, and then everyone swings at people's heads and try to take off their heads. Strickland had this weird style of just kind of relax here and just kind of throws his hands up to kind of block and leans away to where it's very difficult for people to get to his face to hit him. As you see when he, who was it that actually caught him was Pereira. I think it was coming off of like a fake knee, and it was kind of just Pereira has those hooks that you don't really see because his hands are so low, and it just boom, and then a straight right, boom, put him out. It's a very, if you're not in a situation like that, Strickland is very.
According to Michael Bisping, the bout between Khamzat Chimaev and Sean Strickland for the middleweight title is a fascinating matchup, though not necessarily easy to call. Bisping gave credit to Strickland for the way he defeated Anthony Hernandez, not only because of the finish with the body shot, but also because of the respect Strickland showed him afterward, as he stated Strickland definitely deserved the title shot. However, Bisping went on to say that the question was how anyone was going to deal with the non-stop pressure and wrestling of Khamzat Chimaev, the undefeated fighter who had dominated nearly every opponent, even controlling portions of the fight against the current title holder, Dricus du Plessis.
This was going to happen, and I am, of course, talking about the one and only Khamzat Chimaev taking on, for the middleweight title, Sean Strickland. That is correct. Sean needs no nickname. He gets called lots of names by a lot of people because he's a controversial guy. But I'll tell you what, the way that he beat Alexander Fluffy Hernandez, the way that he put a beat down on him respectfully to Fluffy, the way that he finished him with that knee to the midsection, and then, to be honest, how he handled himself on the microphone, right?
Fluffy's the definition of a man.
He deserves this shot. Of course, he lost the belt to Dricus du Plessis. How's he going to do against Khamzat Chimaev? I don't know about that. Khamzat Chimaev is ridiculous. What is he, 15-0? He's a force of nature. Of course, went to a decision with Dricus du Plessis, controlled him throughout the entirety of the fight. Yes, he was trying to finish it, but he didn't get it. But other than that, he does.
Bisping noted that a potential clash between Chimaev and Strickland would come with plenty of tension because the two have trained together before and already exchanged their fair share of trash talk, with Strickland known for speaking his mind without any filter and Chimaev carrying absolute belief in his abilities. Bisping joked that fight week could get so heated that extra security might even be needed, something Daniel Cormier also laughed about. Still, beyond the drama, Bisping believes the fight would ultimately hinge on one key question: can Strickland stop the relentless takedowns of Chimaev?
There is a backstory between Chimaev and Sean Strickland. They have trained with one another. There's a bit of shit talk. There's going to be bad blood. We know that the lead up to the fight will be goddamn insane, right? Chimaev doesn't hold back. He talks shit, but in a kind of reserved way, but like he truly believes in himself. And Sean Strickland is just going to go on the full offensive. We know that. We know that. He's going to be talking some crazy shit. Dana even joked about it on the little show that we did there. He said they're going to need extra security for that fight, during the fight week, leading up to the fight, after the fight, in the fight. It's going to be a mad one because Sean Strickland doesn't hold back. And you know what? Even if you don't like the shit that he says, you have to appreciate the entertainment value that he brings to the table. And then on top of that, the performances inside the octagon. That one against Fluffy, that was a different Sean Strickland, okay? But can he stop the takedowns of Khamzat Chimaev? Because let's be honest, that's what this fight is all going to.
Then giving his take on the title picture, Jorge Masvidal argued that Strickland has more than earned another shot at the belt. Masvidal pointed to Strickland's dominant 5-round victory over Israel Adesanya, noting that he didn't just win the fight, he controlled the champion from start to finish at a time when Adesanya was still in his prime. While Strickland later had a rough night against Dricus du Plessis, Masvidal emphasized that he has since bounced back with strong performances to remain among the division's top contenders.
Who deserves it more?
I mean, I guess
champion beat the brakes off of Izzy when Izzy was fucking. Izzy had just beaten Pereira.
Yeah.
So it's not like
5-0. He beat him, right? 5 rounds.
No, Izzy knocked him out.
No, I'm saying Strickland beat him. He just beat him in every round.
5 rounds and almost stopped him, I think, in the first. So I really thought that Izzy was on top of his game. Maybe going into that fight, for whatever reason, he wasn't at his best mind. But physically, he was still in his prime. I know Izzy's had his ups and downs after that. But Sean beat a prime Izzy, man. So we can't ever forget that. And then I know he had a bad fight with the South African dude, the killer.
DDP?
Man.
Yeah.
DDP's another killer, bro. He's phenomenal, you know. And he had a bad showing there. But since then, I mean, I think Sean is 2-0 right now.
He beat Costa.
Costa, which
It was just
it wasn't
one.
the best fight. It wasn't the best showing. It was
But
a
he
little
won.
boring.
Yeah.
But he won convincingly. There's no doubt about it. But then when he did the Fluffy, which had a lot of hype behind him, everybody was writing
Yeah,
Fluffy's
bro.
coattails hard. He made him look bad. Like, hey, I'm the top dog here, and you're not ready for this. You know, it made him look bad. He couldn't take him down. Couldn't do anything.
Yeah.
So.
Masvidal then went on to explain that beating Chimaev requires a very specific skill set. It's not just about having great striking. It's about defending takedowns, scrambling back to your feet when grounded, and constantly keeping the pressure on. Only fighters who can combine solid grappling with steady pressure on the feet stand a real chance of slowing down Chimaev's relentless style.
You know?
So you think a guy that beats Khamzat is a guy that has good enough wrestling, but has also, like, you know, crazy striking.
Not
right?
crazy striking, but you have to be able to wrestle back in. You have to be able to get back up to your feet when you get taken down and put the pressure on him.
Okay. Yeah, that's why, you know, I didn't expect you to say that. I didn't expect you to say Strickland will be Khamzat, but I mean,
that's my take.
I gotta like kind of listen. I mean, you're the fighter, so we'll see. I mean, we'll see.
Hey, listen, at the same time, I'm certain about some fights. Sometimes I don't know not.
On the other hand, Chael Sonnen commented on the intimidating presence Chimaev brings to the cage. He shared Strickland's perspective, explaining that even in the gym, Chimaev can be overwhelming. According to Strickland, while most fighters seek out the toughest sparring partners, Chimaev often picks the easiest opponent, corners them, and dominates, showing a bully-like intensity. Sonnen added that this kind of mentality and confidence is part of what makes Chimaev such a feared competitor in every fight.
The scenes, and I can tell you, guys tiptoe around Chimaev. Guys are scared of Chimaev. He has a presence. Sean Strickland said, man, I used to be in the gym with this guy. He's a punk. Ask the people that were there. Sean Strickland said, when I come into a gym, I go find the biggest, baddest dude, and that's who I spar with. When Chimaev comes in the gym, he finds the easiest opponent, takes him in the corner and beats the hell out of him. He's a bully. He said people were there. There is one scenario, this is Sean Strickland talking, one scenario where we did a live go and Chimaev started with my back. So he starts in an ideal position and Sean says, I let him choke me. He goes, but what's the point? He's already there. It was a ridiculous position. It was ridiculous that we started in that position. I let him have a choke. He said the rest of the time I ran him out of the room and there was people that saw it. Now, I wasn't there. I'm just telling you, as far as a promo goes, that's hot. That's very hot.
Moreover, MMA Guru broke down the matchup, saying it's tough to pick against Chimaev right now. While he thinks Strickland has the wrestling ability to make things more challenging, Chimaev keeps improving, and now with a world title and valuable 5-round experience against a top-level opponent like Dricus du Plessis, he's only getting sharper. As Guru put it, Strickland's wrestling fundamentals are solid, but he's not the type to be shooting takedowns constantly in the middle of a fight, which could be a key factor in how this fight unfolds.
Okay? It's hard to pick against Khamzat Chimaev right now. I do think Strickland has the wrestling game to make it a little bit more of a challenge. But man, it's hard to go against Khamzat Chimaev. And he's only going to be getting better as well. Now that he's a world champion, he's had a lot of time to recover, a lot of time to develop his game. 5 rounds with Dricus du Plessis, that's valuable experience. He'd never been 5 rounds. I don't think he'd ever had a 5-round fight booked. Maybe he had on some like weird circumstance, but I don't think he had. And if he did, he finished it in round 1. He'd never been 5 rounds before. That's a very good experience against a great fighter like Dricus du Plessis, who has wins over Sean Strickland. I do think Strickland's wrestling skill is better than Dricus du Plessis in terms of like his fundamentals. Now, du Plessis was the one taking down Sean Strickland in their fight, but Sean Strickland is just not the guy who's going to be shooting takedowns.
MMA Guru then added that Strickland will likely stick to his usual strategy of staying on the back foot, jabbing, and gradually pushing forward while mixing in strikes to the body and head. He's also started adding more hooks and uppercuts, as seen in his recent fights. Still, Guru favors Chimaev in this matchup, calling it an incredibly exciting clash and highlighting how hard it is to bet against his relentless, ever-improving style.
In the middle of the fight, he's going to do what he always does. On the back foot, jab, teep. If eventually the momentum swings, he's going to start bringing that forwards a little bit and start pushing you backwards while jabbing and throwing the right hand now and then and keeping the body and doing what he does. He's mixing in some other things into his game recently with the hooks and the uppercuts, and he's letting his hands go a little bit more as he did against Anthony Hernandez. I am going to lean towards Chimaev right now, though. This is a sick match.
Building on the discussion about Strickland's striking, Kamaru Usman highlighted just how difficult he is to hit. According to Usman, Strickland is extremely hard to connect with. He relaxes his hands, leans away, and makes it very difficult for people to get to his face. Unlike most fighters who swing aggressively, Strickland's unorthodox style forces opponents to be precise, and only a perfectly timed sequence, like the one Pereira landed, seems to penetrate his defense. This adds another layer of complexity to the matchup with Chimaev, who will have to find ways to break through a fighter who is as defensively elusive as he is relentless.
No, I think this is what I have to say is that Strickland is, I've always said this, Strickland is extremely tricky to hit because everyone gets into the sport, is fighting, and then everyone swings at people's heads and try to take off their heads. Strickland had this weird style of just kind of relax here and just kind of throws his hands up to kind of block and leans away to where it's very difficult for people to get to his face, to hit him. As you see when he, who was it that actually caught him was Pereira. I think it was coming off of like a fake knee, and it was kind of just a, you know, Pereira has those hooks that you don't really see because his hands are so low, and it just boom, and then a straight right, boom, put him out. You know, it's a very, if you're not in a situation like that, Strickland is very...
Continuing the breakdown, Usman pointed out a potential vulnerability in Chimaev's game. While everyone sees him as a dominant force, Usman noted that if Chimaev's go-to move is neutralized, he's forced to rely on his full skill set, and that's where things can get tricky. In practice, a fighter might look flawless in one area, whether striking or grappling, but mixing everything in a real fight isn't always seamless. Usman highlighted that Chimaev does have strong striking. He's shown the power to finish fights with a single shot and even dropped a top-level opponent like Gilbert Burns multiple times, but relying too heavily on one weapon can expose gaps when he's forced to adapt. However, Ariel Helwani discussed the hype and tension surrounding the Chimaev versus Strickland fight, noting that it's fueled by their bitter rivalry and history of trading verbal shots. He suggested that Chimaev will likely come in even more motivated given everything Strickland has said. Helwani also explained why Strickland is getting the shot, pointing out that while his short-notice win over Imavov at 205 was impressive, the bigger factor is that this fight generates far more attention and excitement. From a promotional standpoint, Strickland makes this matchup far more compelling. Helwani went on to emphasize the promotional impact of a Chimaev versus Strickland matchup. He explained that this fight will generate far more attention and storyline-driven interest than anything Chimaev's previous opponents would have, making it a clear choice from a business standpoint. While acknowledging that Imavov deserved consideration and might be disappointed, Helwani reminded that this is typical in fight business. Sometimes the biggest, most compelling matchups take precedence over strict merit. Then commentator The Weasel explained why Strickland got the nod over Imavov, saying that Strickland delivered the performance needed to sell the fight, while Imavov wouldn't have the same promotional pull against Chimaev. In the Paramount era, the focus is on creating the biggest, most attention-grabbing fights, and this is one of the UFC's biggest matchups right now. He added that Strickland's mic work only adds to the hype. Paramount loves having him promote the fight as a main event. At the end of the day, though, words don't matter as much as the action in the cage. These two are going to be punching each other, and that's what really counts in the fight game. Who do you have taking this one? Drop your predictions in the comments, and don't forget to hit subscribe for all the latest fight updates. We want to hear your breakdowns, hot takes, and who you think will come out on top.